Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron. I am here with Mr. Ryan Nelson, founder of Alchemy Wealth Management, my podcast co-host here, and good pal. Ryan, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
You know, living the dream over here. Can't complain. Ready to dive into some fiscal physicaling, if you will. Not sure if that's a verb, but we're going to make it one. But
sure.
You ready to dive in today?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So today we are going to be discussing, quote unquote, the fine print, understanding financial advisor disclosures. This topic actually came up, Ryan, because I am a client of Alchemy Wealth Management, which you're very familiar of, and I got an email from you that was the annual ADV and privacy policy notice. Looking at that email, I was like, the first line, I like how you, first off, I really like how you send your communication. It's like your first line was like, no action is needed of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, perfect, cool, all right. That makes me feel a lot better. It's almost like I'm playing with house money at that point.
Sure.
Cool, like I don't really have to think too much, but I was like, you know what? I got a little bit of time. Like, let's pull this up. What are we working with here? So I went through and I skimmed through that. I guess it's the ADV privacy policy notice. And honestly, it had some cool information in it, and I was like, oh, I wonder like what the rationale or the reasoning behind like sending this is, why it's important. Do all financial advisors have to do this, or what does that actually mean? And I kind of think back on, like when you sign up for, a good example is like, you accept the terms and whatever terms and agreement or whatever when you sign up for something. It's normally like 15 pages long, and I'm like, I really don't know what I'm signing up for when it comes here. So I don't think that's kind of what this is, but I think for most people, the layman like myself, that's kind of what it kind of looks like. So I'm hoping you can kind of break it down, like why it's important, what it is, and kind of get into that if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Exciting stuff. These ADVs, and every year. Being a state licensed advisory firm, I'm required to send all of my clients basically a set of compliance documents, which includes what's called the ADV and the privacy policy. And so this is effectively the documents that sort of I'm compliantly governed by.
Okay.
And so like all clients receive these when they sign their initial onboarding paperwork, but they're also required to get them on an ongoing basis. And you always have access to it, like anytime, like on our website, there's a link to it, the most updated form at the bottom of our website. But this is really just kind of going over some of the important information about how my firm operates, how we charge fees, things like that. And so it really is just a compliance, just an FYI form sent to clients. And so, not always the most exciting email you probably get, but it does explain who we are, what we do, how we get paid, like what services we offer, any conflicts of interest that we have, things like that. And then the privacy policy, which is attached to it, just explains what information we collect, how we protect it, and what information that might be shared. So basically it's like how the relationship works documents. Like you said, I always try to be transparent in my email communication. So I always put in there like no action is required.
Sure.
Just because no action is required doesn't mean it's maybe not useful to read through those types of documents, right? So certainly not required to, but there can be some value in there, and you skim through them. Well, out of curiosity, did you have any meaningful takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, the fee structure of how you structure your fees is always interesting to me, like the certain amounts, like the percentage and such too. So I was like, oh, that's cool to like, and I love the transparency of like how, because I'm always curious to like how other companies or entities get paid when I contract their services. So I really like that. I also like that it broke down you and I believe his name's Grant, your like background and your history on it too, to like show like, hey, this is what their background, their education is, what their previous work history is, like the people who are actually managing your money or in charge of that. Kind of gave a little behind the curtain with that. Because for myself, I don't know Grant from Adam, but now I feel like I do. Like I'm like, oh, okay, this is his background. That's great. Like I've talked to him on the phone, but that's about it. So I really like the fee structure and also kind of getting to know. And I don't know if that's standard with with these firms who have a ton of people who work for them or whatever, if they put everybody in there, but I just like that made it feel kind of like I knew who I was talking to or who was managing my money.
Right. No, yeah, that's cool. It also shows not only like our backgrounds, it will show if there's any complaints or anything like that. Yeah, so hopefully then you can kind of keep tabs on the people that are managing your money and make sure that they're kind of up to snuff, if you will.
Sure.
So yeah, really the whole intent is transparency. The hope is to be, again, transparent with, again, how we charge, who's managing your money, to your point. And so it really is just all around transparency. And so basically as a client, like you deserve to know how the advisor gets paid. You deserve to know what kind of conflicts of interest there are. You deserve to know what information, like how information's being handled. And so this is really that document that discloses all of that. I'll tell you, I don't know, but I'm guessing the vast majority of people kind of, it is written in sort of a more legalese-esque. So it's not the most maybe enjoyable reading.
Sure. Right.
So my guess is probably a lot of people do maybe even skip over reading it or just skim through it. But it's kind of like that owner's manual, if you will, for the relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to describe it because I don't really look at my owner's manual of my car unless I'm like, okay, how big is my fuel tank, or how many miles to the gallon do I get, or what happens when this light goes on? It's nice to know that it's there though, to be able to, versus hey, cool, I don't know anything about this. I don't know where to find this information, but if you ever had a question about it, you could just harken back to that doc too. So I do think that the owner's manual is a good kind of comparison to that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it's written in such a way where, it has a table of contents, and you can really go to the sections of, if you have questions around the types of clients we work with, or the fees, or the, any changes that we've made, or if we have investment discretion, right? You can just go straight to those pages and read just specifically about that question you have. So I'd say that's probably a best practice. I could imagine. I mean, I suppose the best practice is to read the whole thing word for word, right?
There's a lot of best practices out there.
Maybe the more practical thing, because most people probably aren't actually going to do that. The more practical thing would be to pop it open and take a look at maybe the section or two that's of most interest to you. And to your point, I think that there may be a takeaway or two, and just make sure that your financial advisor relationship is in alignment with the type of relationship you're hoping to have with that type of professional. And so really there are compliance documents being shared with the intent of transparency, so that the clients have access to the information to make informed decisions if their financial advisor, to just be educated on how their financial advisory relationship is currently structured. And probably one of the best, if you're only going to pop that thing open and look at one section, there is it's at the very, very beginning always. It's if there's any material changes, and so then you could see if your financial advisory fee, or if your financial advisor structurally change something about the business, it would be in the material changes, and so you could see what changed since last year.
Smart.
You could just take a look there, and that would kind of almost keep you up to date, if you will, if you're just taking a look at that every year.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece to at least seeing, because I'm kind of the same way. I'm if I get a bill, or I know that something I pay for every year, if something changes in that, I'm wait, why did this change, or what's going on there? Right. So having that at the start there, did you structure that specifically? Was that your decision to do that, or is that kind of how is there a template that you use that everybody sends out to where hey, changes have to be first? I don't know if you know the answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. This is something where we hire compliance consultants to help us draft these. And basically everybody, because I'll look at other advisory firms' ADVs, and they are structured in very, very similar ways. I'm not necessarily well versed on exactly what the requirements are, if they have to go in the exact same order, or if that's just kind of been a best practice that's been adopted by advisory firms. But certainly if you pull up a bunch of different ADVs, they're formatted differently,
right?
But you can tell it they're very, very similar. If you look up an ADV, like I don't know that I'd be able to do it on the spot here, but like, my ADV's 24 pages. If I was to pull, so let's see if I could find.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the comparison on. I'm sure it varies, like you said, and that's a good point. I didn't even think about it's probably a compliance company that you work with to do these. Make sure it's up to snuff, if you will. Which I love that line.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it comes to these types of things, we like to just be overly cautious and use it out of an abundance of caution. Just hire the best professionals out there to help us with these. I'm seeing if I can.
And I think too, one of the areas that is important, especially for you, because you're very transparent with these things. Like, I think that if you're opening up something like that and you're actually interested in this and you don't understand something, I think that's where to ask those direct questions to your advisor.
Definitely.
I think that's a huge piece that I always recommend to honestly anybody. Like, hey, like if you don't understand, ask that question. People get scared of sounding stupid or whatever. I'm like, hey, if you don't understand what that means, have them explain it in a different way, because this is. Money's very important. If you don't understand something about like, this doesn't really jive with me, or this doesn't make sense. Is this how it's always been? Whatever it might be, like ask those questions right to your advisor for sure.
Definitely. And so, I think it could be a good conversation piece to have some of those conversations. Like we said, a good place to look would be what changes we've made. Another interesting place to look would be to look at the disciplinary history.
Right.
So then you could see like, hey, is the person that I'm hiring or working with, what kind of disciplinary actions have been taken against them, and you can make sure they have either a clean record, or if not a clean record, probably worth having that conversation with them and have them explain to you kind of what happened and what's going on and why they have something on their record.
Absolutely.
And that'd be very likely a good learning experience. So those would be a couple of good use cases. But again, I think it's primarily just a document that promotes transparency in the industry, that in a perfect world, you might look at every single word. In the real world, you might just pop it open, take a look at what changes were made, and jump to any other sections that are relevant to your current needs or of interest to you at that moment.
Yep. Awesome. That's good, man. I like that. Anything else you want to say on this here topic? I mean, I think that for myself, I'm like, it's cool that gets sent out. I don't know if that's like, is that a state or federal thing? Do you know if that's like, is it state regulated because you're...
Well, I'm regulated by the state, but it would be a federal requirement.
Okay, federal requirement. Okay.
The other thing to maybe pay attention to would be the privacy policy, just how your information is collected. Again, it should be shared as well. So good to take a look at that. And yeah, I mean, I think if anything, probably your best bet is to have to not be afraid to have those conversations with your financial advisor, because like I said, sometimes these documents can be sort of written in legalese. Like I said, I hire compliance consultants to help draft these documents. They're not always written in the most layman terms. Like they're not, we do a lot of things, like a lot of the topics on this podcast. Hopefully we're condensing fairly complicated topics down into layman terms, right? Where there's a lot of times when I'm presenting a financial plan to a client, we're trying to take a complex situation, condense it down into layman's terms. This ADV, that's not the use case for that.
Right.
We're not trying to condense it down into layman's tools. It is into layman's terms. It is a compliance tool and requirement. And so it really is written more in legalese. So you might take a look at it and be a little overwhelmed. Again, that'd just be a good opportunity to if you have questions, just bring them up to your advisor and kind of work through those like in a human to human way. And they'll be able to explain it in a more digestible format, I would assume.
I would hope so. And if they're like, oh no, don't worry about that, it's like, well, maybe consider some of your choices with that, because hopefully that people are able to break that down, because it's supposed to breed that transparency in maybe an industry that doesn't have the best reputation for transparency.
Right.
But if you're able to get that broken down, I think that's super important to be able to know what's going on. And I think you have it noted here. You don't have to be an expert in this, but and I think you've mentioned on this podcast before, maybe know just enough to be dangerous.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome, man. Anything else to bring up on this topic here? here before we go ahead
I
and
think that'll
pause?
do it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys stayed awake during that. It's one of those topics that we might not be the most exciting, but it is very important. And hopefully everybody will hang tight here. We'll be back on the other side of this.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back, everybody, to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. I'm still here with Ryan, and I have a trivia question for you, Ryan. You ready?
Let's do it. Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So this is a fun trivia question. I actually got this information from Pimsleur, is what it is, which is a language learning app, and you're familiar with. You've
Absolutely.
learned several languages through them, I'm sure. So it's a two-part question here. So the first one is, what are the top 5 most spoken languages in the world? And by spoken language for this, it means that you can be a non-native speaker, but you also speak that language.
So not your primary language?
Yep, exactly. So that's the first question is, what are the top languages spoken in the world? Top 5 of them.
English, Spanish, Cantonese. English, Spanish, Cantonese.
Spanish, nailed it.
Cantonese isn't?
No, but I think you're thinking of the right one. You just might have the wrong.
I'm saying it wrong?
No, well, you just.
All right, am I even saying a language?
You are. Cantonese is a language, yes. But I think you're meaning to say Mandarin.
Oh, Mandarin, sure.
But I think you might have used them interchangeably there. But yes,
sure.
Those are top 3. English is
so.
number 1, Mandarin number 2, Spanish is number 4.
Okay.
And there's 2 other in there that I figured you'd get those first 3, but I'm curious.
Yeah, that's tough. Let's see.
One of these I was like,
I would assume it's I'm so ignorant. I would assume it's a language they speak in India.
it is. Yeah.
Indian?
Yeah.
Is it just called Indian?
Hindi is what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah. I was like, it's got a lot of people. And this other one, I don't know if you'll get this one, but it was like,
Is it? It's not another.
It's a romance language, if that helps.
Oh, I was thinking it might be another Chinese dialect. God, I don't know. What is it?
It is French.
Oh,
French is the other one. And
yeah, I
was
guess
like,
so. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so you think about in Europe, people learn French, and they have quite the following. Like they conquered some countries in Africa and such too. So, but yeah, it was interesting. I was like, okay, cool. And so that's with total. What about with first language? Like
first language?
Yeah, first language. So everybody's first language. That's your native language. What is the top percent or top languages spoken?
I would guess it's Mandarin.
Yes, with almost 13% of the world.
Wow.
That is like the first native language. So
crazy.
That was pretty wild to me. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right, so you got Mandarin, nailed it.
Oh, all top 5 again?
Sure. There's only one that's different on this list, and so
so I'd go. So I'd say it's it's going to be Mandarin, the Hindi again, English and Spanish again.
Yep.
So French is going to be the different one.
Yeah, the different one. Yeah.
And so this is primary language.
Primary language, exactly.
So I'm going to go with another Chinese dialect.
Okay. Yeah.
Cantonese.
That is a Chinese dialect. Yeah. But no, it's actually Portuguese.
Oh,
is the other
Portuguese.
One because Brazil has a pretty big
it's a big country.
Speaks, yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, it was kind of interesting.
I'm shocked that Portuguese. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wow. I was like, wow. But you think about countries that have that's their native language. I'm like, oh, probably makes sense.
Interesting.
But it was wild to me. I was like looking at the percentages, and Spanish is 7%, and then like I said, it's almost double for Mandarin as the first. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty wild to me. So anyway,
crazy
fun stuff there for sure. And it also kind of gives you an idea, if you English being the most spoken language across the world, man, it's a tough language to learn. So I'm almost glad that I'm a native speaker, because it's I think about all the colloquial terms, and even just listening to this podcast.
Oh yeah!
Shout out to our international listeners. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us there, because some of the terms you probably just gotta be like, I don't even know what that means, dude.
Right? Yeah, it'd be challenging. Challenging.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, you did pretty good on that, man, as always. And we'll go ahead and get this episode wrapped up here. But I want to thank all the listeners wherever you guys are checking us out from. These episodes drop every Tuesday morning. We'd love to hear your feedback on it as well. Please let us know. And Ryan, I'll leave it up to you, my man.
As always, stay the course.
Thank thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening, and as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode, and consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.